Economics and politics are the foundation of human development.
While forming the world's earliest civilizations, Africans also laid the groundwork for the creation of economic systems.
By learning from our history, we gain the strength to empower the present and design the future. Presenting the premier forum for truth, culture, and change. HAPI Talks. Join us as we unlock the secrets to our success.
Peace, peace. What's good, happy family? Todd,
Yes,
what's
sir.
good?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Peace.
Going on?
What's up? What's up? Excited to be back. It's been a while
Yes,
since
sir.
we've been here. Since I've been here on the platform. You know, Felicia's been holding it down.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure when you come through and grace us with your presence. You know,
Oh, man.
usually that means, you know, something's big about to happen or something. I don't know.
Nah, man. Listen. Well, my thing is this, man. I'm always excited to be back. Sometimes my schedule doesn't allow me to be here. See my man Lou in the building. Shout out to the people who've been waiting. Sorry for keep you, brothers, sisters waiting so long. We just putting some final touches on tonight's show. But with that, definitely want to say shout out to everyone that's been a part of this for a long time. People that have been waiting. We want to big them up, let them know that we appreciate them. We appreciate their love and their support, and we got to keep it moving. With that family being said, we always do our happy housekeeping things and go through what's kind of new or what's, current and happy. And for the people who've just kind of coming along in the process, it's a good idea for them to kind of get a chance to kind of see everything that's happening. First and foremost, always start with the HAPI film. This is the foundation for what we do here. A lot of the conversations and discussions that we have centers around this. I know most people have seen the film. For those who haven't, it's a very easy access now. It's on Amazon Prime, Quayle TV, and Tubi. It's just a click away, and you can watch it. And for those people who have seen it, make sure you tell a friend and a family. Remember, a lot of the things that we touched on in this film is going on right now. This film couldn't be more current. And it will be current for some time because the situations that we're dealing with, particularly here in North America, a lot of the stuff, this film addresses. Some of the stuff that's going on overseas, some things we're going to touch on tonight. You'll see that, we were already discussing these things in HAPI. So please, family, check this out. If you haven't already, please do so. The most important way and the most important thing to any community is communication. With that being said, the newsletter is extremely important for those who haven't signed up for it or have subscribed. This is a great opportunity to do so. Go to happyfilm.com and do that. This way you can stay connected to everything in the world of HAPI. And there's a lot that's going on. So please do so. Haz and I are rocking both the HAPI Power and Unity hoodies. Listen, that's what HAPI is all about, power and unity. Unity is one of our cornerstones. It's one of the cornerstones of HAPI, one of the cornerstones of any community. So family, it's not just a shirt. It represents the energy of the nature, the HAPI uniting the upper and lower kingdoms into one. And this is the power which all the pharaohs in the suit stood on, the fact that they had to have unity in order for them to rule. So that's an important piece. Family, if you haven't done so already, please like, comment, and share. Share the video out to as many people that you possibly can. That's an important thing. And lastly, we leave you with, before we get into the discussion, is the trip. Yeah, we got the trip to Africa this year. HAPI in Africa is called. As a matter of fact, we're going to put the flyer up in a second. 3 sacred experiences, 1 sacred journey. And this is a powerful experience. We have 3 tailored-made options for you. The first one being Senegal, Ghana, Togo, 3 countries, August 20th to August 30th. Fantastic experience. Second is Senegal and Morocco, August 25th to September 1st. And lastly is 4 countries. The last option encompasses 4 countries. That's Senegal, Ghana, Togo, and Morocco. And that is from August 20th to September 1st. For any of those who are interested, please go to akheadtours.com or contact one of us, and we'd be more than happy to go into more details about that experience. So, Haj, you want to add anything?
So what I want to do is I want to stay focused on this trip a little bit and give them a little something by showing them a little video.
Okay, we could do that. Definitely.
Africa welcomes you to the journey of a lifetime with our 3 signature experiences. Come discover your identity and the power within while learning about the history of the Moors. Visit the African Renaissance Monument, Gorée Island, Elmina. Explore the Museum of Black Civilization. To visit these sites and much, much more, join HAPI this summer for this sacred journey. Travel enthusiasts can choose from 3 amazing tour packages. Option 1, Senegal, Ghana, and Togo, August 20th through August 30th. A powerful passage from remembrance, ancestral connection, and deeper self-understanding. Option 2, Senegal and Morocco, August 25th through September 1st. Transit through the sacred memory and the majestic legacy where identity, wisdom, and purpose are renewed. Option 3, Senegal, Ghana, Togo, and Morocco, August 20th through September 1st. Our most expansive journey. 4 nations designed to awaken your spirit, deepen your cultural roots, and reconnect you to the greatness within. HAPI in Africa presents more than a trip. It presents a return. Come and reconnect with the spirit of Africa. To learn more and to reserve your space, visit www.aketours.com.
Wow, there it is. There it is. So, family, this is something that's a sacred journey. If you're interested in going to Africa this year, please go to aketours.com and register for the trip. With that being said, you know, Haz, I've been thinking about for a while the title of the show, and there's so much going on right now in the news, so much going on around the world, and so much going on in our community. And one of the things that came to mind was that we're in a real critical time right now, critical space, and there's a lot of hate being thrown our way.
Mhm.
When I say our way, you know, people of color, Black people, there's a lot of hate being thrown our way, and some of it's coming from various different, you know, angles. You know what I'm saying? So it's urgent that we address these things. And, you know, one of the things, we were just looking at something to kind of figure out things that we can do to, you know, in other words, stop being on the defensive and more so being on the offensive. So with that being said, you know, again, we wanted to come up with this show, family, to really, really get into some of the key issues. And like one of those issues right now is here politically. We had a show 2 weeks ago with Charles Barron, where we talked about the redistricting of the voting maps, things like that, and the lack of representation this will cause the community. This is something that, you know, is going on right now. We understand the time we're in, but the question is, what can we do? And these are the conversations that we want to have to make sure the family is informed and that we can organize and mobilize and do what we need to do to combat these things. Second thing is there's a lot going on in particular, and we're going to talk about this with our illustrious panel. We just want to give the family an idea. You know, this is so much polarized conversations going on between Black men and Black women. This is something that we really need to get ahead of. But you know what? We got a couple more. But before we even get into all those other ones, let's just bring in Brother Mfundishi Jhutyms and Jabari Osaze, and we can really, really get into this conversation. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. We're going to bring them in, this illustrious panel. You know, Baba Mfundishi Jhutyms, Hassan Salim. How you doing, sir?
Imhotep.
Imhotep, yes.
Echo. Absolutely. Echo.
You got. Let me ask you before we get started. You got another light you can put on? We want to make sure people can see you well. If you got another light or something.
No, I think I just have to turn my computer another way.
All right. All right. That's cool. Peace, my brother Jabari. How you doing, sir?
Peace. Uncle Ma'ad, how are you?
Listen, I'm doing well. Excited to have you two brothers together. It's been a while. I'm not sure it's been so many different shows, but I'm not sure we kind of had this particular panel here. But one of the things we were talking about, Brother Hassan and I, we wanted to kind of get into it, and we talking about urgent the time is now. There are a lot of things that are happening in and around the Black community, and these things need to be addressed. And one of the things we're going to start off with the foundation, and the foundation is the family center, the core. And it seems to be a lot of division or a lot of divisiveness going on. And, not sure left, right, who it's coming from between Black men and Black women. And, it's a lot of it's online. And this online community seems to be driving it. A lot of these negative discussions. But I'm going to start with you, Brother Mfundishi, in your standpoint, and just talking about from a foundational sense, what are some of the better ways that we can honor one another? Because I think that's what it is. I think we've lost that.
Okay.
So how can we?
Yeah. First of all, I need to say that we're at war, and we're not treating this like we're at war. So we're trying to put Band-Aids where a major operation needs to be. We're at war, and we're at war for our minds, our culture, our spirit, our very existence. And it's an emergency. And we've been in that emergency state for a long time, and we're not treating it like that. We're the happiest slaves on the planet. Let me say that. Woo. So when foreigners come here, they taking pictures of us on 125th Street. They taking pictures of us in Brooklyn and Bronx. They take them because they wouldn't be taking what we're taking.
Right.
Europeans would not. And what? You defeat your enemy's culture by practicing your own. And we're so far from that, it's a shame. You see, so it's not a magical formula. We're at war for our minds. Are we taking control of our children's minds? No. Are we in control of our children's education? No. Are we in control of the food that we eat? No. Are we in control, or are we discriminating the clothes that we wear? No. So the vital statistics, the vital things that make us exist, we don't control them, and that's not even on the platform. That's not a question you was getting ready to ask me. I don't care what social media is saying. They control that. We are at war, and we're not acting like warriors. And my definition of a warrior is one who defends all that he loves. So you love self-defense. You love your family. You love your community. You love your people. You love the values that you represent. And you're willing, and Malcolm said the price is death. You got to be willing to die for it. We're having too much fun partying. We're having too much fun. So my brother, that's my platform to start off right there. So the fundamental things that we need to be taken care of at war, look at the countries that are at war. They're not having no social problem. Yeah. They're not on the social media.
Right.
They don't even care what's in the newspapers. They're taking care of fundamental things. Control all that you need.
Right. Let me just jump in real quick. You oftentimes say culture is your medicine.
Yes.
Right. From a cultural perspective, what could we do to bring the two most important parties in our community together at the table and say, hey, this is something we need to get into to deal with, to combat this war, to fight this war? Because if we ain't got no black women, no black men and women coming together, we ain't gonna have no black children and so forth and so on. So we need some of the things we need to kind of do fundamentally from a cultural perspective, from the medicine, cultures and medicine perspective. What can we do to bring those two groups together?
First of all, you need to see this here, that in the last 40, 50 years, the Europeans have done what 400 years of slavery could not do. All the way up to the 1960s, the black family was still together. Poor, but still together. Mother, father, children. After the 60s, after the 70s, when they went war on drugs, and then they brought in, all the different things that disseminated black male versus black females, homosexuality. They used Obama to bring in same-sex marriages. The alphabet people blew up. All of those things. Come on, I did a lecture at spelled Morehouse College, all black men. And on the lecture door, it said, no high heels and no dresses. You in an all black male college, and that's on the door, showing you at epidemic proportions we are. And we're not dealing with that. That's not even on our agenda. We're saying, okay, we're gonna let that go. We want to get in an argument with them. No, we're at war, brother. And if we don't have no men, so the women are up at arms because they don't have no black men, between the men who are in jail, the men who are insane and unmarriageable, and then the women's values are out to lunch. So most of the women who want a husband are not even marriage material. So we're at an all low epidemic. Come on, you've heard this before. Our social scientists have said it. We're at the first generation right now where children know less than their parents. You hear me? Since we've been here 400 years, and we can go back 6,000 years, this is the first generation where students, the youth, know less than their parents. And we've already established that their parents is crazy. So now, you see where we're at? So we say culture is your medicine. So brother, is there a campaign to take over educational institutes in every city where it's black people? No. Is there a program to redo Head Start? With the Black Panther Party was doing preschool and feeding young kids before they went to school to try to get into their minds before they got miseducated. Are we trying to do that? No. You see, so we're not even on the battlefield.
Go back. I'm sorry.
So the first thing is that now look, and maybe Jabari will jump in and add this. Look, what were the ingredients that broke up the black family? When they welfare, you can't have a man in the house. You got welfare, you got social workers looking in your closet to see is there any male clothes, shoes, or whatever, or you get cut off. You know, so we got to look and see how they disseminated and broke up the black family. You can't get the welfare check if the man is there. You can't. So they systematically destroyed us. We got to systematically within us be able to have an antidote for that. For every poison, in order to fix it, you got to have an antidote. What is our antidote to that? How do we saw how they tore us apart. And come on, we can talk about all day on how they did it. But now, how do we counter that? And then do we have a strategy for the future? I'll pause.
Wow. Okay. I see you smiling already here, Mr. Osaze. Listen, definitely want to pick up where Bob and Mfundishi left off about the antidote, because that's the key piece right there. The brother mentioned a couple things about, I think, the first start of the Head Start programs, things like that. And I think that's something we need to really look into, because that's something that we could, potentially, manage ourselves. And these are the type of things we need to get going. But we really need to understand some of this and figure out a way to fix this anecdotally. Social media is like a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or evil. And just hearing a lot of these conversations, see that this is not by accident. I believe these attacks are deliberate. There's some real stuff going on. And if we are destroyed foundationally at the foundational level, it's hard for us to do much of anything. You ain't got that piece going, then the communities fall apart, and so forth and so on. And the communities don't have any representation, and it just keeps cascading after that.
Yeah.
So say you, Jabari, what are some of the antidotes to this problem?
Well, I first of all, I have to say to Baba and Mfundishi that I love how he started in saying that we're at war and we're acting like we're not at war.
That's why it's urgent. The time is now, because we're at war.
Malcolm used to say, make it plain, right? I mean, we could talk for an hour and not make it as clear as that, but I cannot agree with him more wholeheartedly. The reality is that we have been under attack. Particularly, let's talk about people of African descent in the United States for a moment, because that's most of who we're talking to tonight, right? We have been under attack for generations. And I think that no community has developed more responses that have been more effective as we have been under attack. But as the historian, I have to say, if we erase what happened and erase what our responses were and erase the story of our resilience against the most inhumane systems that humans have ever faced, now we're truly confused. And I think that's the stage that we're in right now. We're at a point where we have a number of people that are wondering whether we should even see ourselves as a community. I'm just an individual. I'm not part of that community. People like Mfundishi, myself, Hassan, to all the four brothers on this screen, when people want to say that when we say culture is your medicine, when we say we have to return to the source to understand how we must go forward in power, they just say those are a bunch of hoteps.
All the time.
I mean, this is one of those things where the attempt at creating an even more effective measure of communal amnesia have been truly drilled into this particular period. And we see right now that the attack on Black communities has not even been described as an attack on Black communities. Unless you are on the street and astute enough to truly analyze, review, and take account of what is happening on the national level, on the communal level, on the family level, you could easily be confused that, oh, this is just a battle between Democrats and Republicans. You could say that. There are very few news sources that talk about the fact that half a million Black women lost their jobs in the last year. What? What? If that had happened to any other community, that would be headlines. There are very few people that talk about the fact that the attack on the Black community has meant to clearly destroy our history. They went in Philadelphia and tore the plaques off the wall that described the founder of this nation, the chief founder's nation, the first president of this nation, as an enslaver. They didn't have a robust public dialogue. They went in with crowbars and just ripped it off the wall.
Wait. Let's don't go any further. Let's stop for a second. We need some context about this situation. Was it the Pennsylvania Museum? Like, where was the location at?
This is actually at what some would call the president's house. Now, just to not be long-winded and try to explain for those of you who don't know what I'm referencing, there was a space that the first president, the person that would become first president, lived as the foundational documents of the United States were developed. Many of you probably know that George Washington had his Mount Vernon plantation in Virginia, but obviously as they were starting the United States, much of that happened in Philadelphia. Maybe some of you don't know that, but that is what happened, right? So he had a space in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was what was called a free state. So this means that you couldn't have your enslaved people there, or could you? There was a loophole. If you brought your enslaved people from elsewhere, you could not keep them there for more than 90 days. If you kept them there for more than 90 days, they would be free. Do you think that George Washington would be without his enslaved people? He has them doing everything in Virginia. You think he's going to come to Philadelphia and do stuff for himself? I think not. So what would he do? He would rotate his enslaved people to Philadelphia, and then when they got close to 90 days, he'd send them back down to Mount Vernon in Virginia and bring up another group of enslaved people. Well, when there were excavations done of that space, we could see this robust history of the enslaved people that George Washington forced into this forced labor in Philadelphia at the heart of the beginnings of this nation. There is perhaps no more important space as we reach 250 years of this country's history. And so Philadelphia, for those of you who have spent time in Philly, Philly is a Black city, y'all. When I'm in Philly, I go, where do the white folk live? Because there's black people everywhere, right? So anyway, the black folks there toiled, fought, and made sure that that history of what George Washington did would be on the walls at the space that he lived, describing what they did. Well, during the Trump administration, they said, we're talking far too much about slavery. So what did? They didn't have a discussion. They sent people in with crowbars to remove all of those plaques from the wall. I have pictures of them because I used to take groups there. They just pulled them off. Didn't matter whether they were damaged or not. This didn't happen, is what they are saying. And so what am I saying? Let me tie it together really quickly. When Baba Mfundishi says that we're at war and we're not behaving like we're at war, one of the reasons why we are not behaving like we're at war is because people have forgotten. This is intentional. I want to make it seem like the people who have forgotten are the people that intentionally forgot, but people have forgotten what we've been through. They wonder whether it's relevant. As a historian, when I'm on platforms talking about history, one of the comments I get every single time is, Jabari, why is this important? How does our history feed my family? Those are the comments I get. And the reality is, if you have been forced into collective amnesia, how do you develop a strategy that works if you don't remember what happened? Imagine if you woke up tomorrow and you could remember what happened today or the day before. What would you do? You would have no clue what you do.
And let me ask, where are the churches?
Mm.
The churches have been put to sleep. You haven't heard one demonstration since the pandemic about a church demonstrating for anything. In fact, let me say this here. Not only the people are asleep, that our churches are even providing the sleeping pills.
Mm.
Have you seen the lines of people signing up and lining up for free food on Fridays and the days of the week? And who is it being disseminated by? The church or those type of institutions. Okay. And we don't have a problem with it. In fact, we all got family that's in that line.
Mm.
And we don't, and none of this stuff is good really for us. Okay. So it's like the free cheese back in the 60s and 70s. You know, it's going to send you right to the hospital, right to the doctor, right to the pharmaceutical drugs. And more of us on more pharmaceutical drugs than anybody. One of the largest industries in the company. And right now, Black doctors are finding out that almost all those prescriptions are for white males, not even diagnosed. In fact, most of them are even detrimental to Black males. Not only not helping you, it's putting you in a backward state to get sicker. And are we combating that? No, it's not even on the agenda. At war, you got to take care of your own sick. You get shot by the enemy and you think the enemy's coming to save you and wound you up and stitch. No. No, you see,
let me say this.
We're not treating this like a battlefield. We're not treating this like war. In fact, your enemy's deeds are always put in front of your face. You can't forget. Jabari's talking about, we've forgotten. And we don't even know the importance anymore because we're not pushing it to the forefront.
Yeah.
So young people don't even think it's important. They're asking him, why do we even need to know that?
So look, so we talked about redistricting, right? And when I think about the redistricting and how they split up the Black vote, is basically how they split us up during slavery, right? So they come into Africa and they take away education, take away our spirituality, give us their so-called spirituality, changing our food habits, all these different things that they did, right? So when you say we're at war, I don't think a lot of us even know that we're at war. I think that to the point that you know, because prior to me coming into any kind of African enlightenment, ancient African history, any spirituality, I didn't really know we were at war. But the same way we're at war now, we were at war in the 80s, we were at war in the 90s. And I didn't know the significance or how much we were at war. So how do we go about letting people know the simple things, how we're at war, and the different ways that they hit us, because they hit us like 10 different ways.
You know, the reality is it's easier for us to communicate with groups of people across boundary lines, across communities, across states than it ever has been. We're having this conversation now online in our own homes. It's easier, but harder. Why harder? Because there's so much information, people have no way to discern what is important and what isn't.
Right.
If you had told me when I was a young scholar in the late 80s and 90s that we would have the mechanisms that we could speak instantaneously to people all around the continent, I was like, oh, Black Power is taking an upgrade. I would have been so wrong. I would have been so wrong.
Jabari, let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. My apologies. I just wanted to. You opened the door for, and Brother Hassan kind of went into it a little bit about the redistricting. As a scholar of African American history, this is the most important thing, because a lot is going on. There's a lot of information on both sides, the left and the right, Black Republicans, Black Democrats, and we're being, again, too much information is being fed our ways. From the standpoint of the redistricting aspect, should this something we be worried about? Because I'm hearing both. Hearing both.
I don't know who would say that we shouldn't be worried about it. I mean, the reality is the reality is we can't think that voting is going to be a panacea for all that ails African people.
Absolutely.
So that's clear. Let's just say that. Some people will say, well, we've been voting. What have we gotten? Right. But the reality is that if you want to have any sort of control over what happens in your community, even if it's a modicum of control, you have to have people who are attempting to represent your interest. And I know that people question whether that's happening. The reality is the people that are questioning what's happening, my first question is, who's your city council member? Who's your representative? And they usually can't answer those questions. So the problem is there have always been people who have had our interest at heart. I'm not saying every elected official has. That would be ridiculous. We know that there have been many people who have not had any care whatsoever about our interests. But there are individuals that do. You speak to our brother Barron. He is almost like the elected Black representative at large. He's not going to just talk about what's in his district. He's not going to just talk about what's in his neighborhood. He's going to talk about us.
Right.
And that is why he is so beloved in our community. He is an elected official. Are you saying that no one has our interests at heart? That would be ridiculous. But the reality is, once we are no longer able to elect our representatives in large parts of this country, the entire movement to bring resources to our community, to keep resources in our community, takes 10 steps backwards. There's a reason why people died because they wanted to vote. There's a reason. Do you think your enemy would kill you to vote if it was irrelevant? Ask Fannie Lou Hamer. So the reality is we must recognize that this redistricting, and I'm not even call it redistricting, this removal of Black representation, that's what it is. We're talking about Jim Crow 2.0. That's what this is.
Damn.
Half of all Black people live in the South.
Before Reconstruction. They're going back to the pre-Reconstruction.
That's right.
They're going back to the 1800s. That's what this whole administration wants. Everything that was done in the 20th century, they're trying to remove. And they got the Supreme Court, got their back. So they can but I want to put something else out there. We got more Black officials than we've ever had. We almost got a Black face in every position, and we're still in the worst shape we've ever been.
Damn.
So it's not just getting a Black face there. You need a Black face there that understands we're at war.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
Right.
right.
Not just Dr. So-and-so. What Carter G. Woodson said, our most educated blacks will be our new enslavers.
Mm.
Because they've been stamped approved by our oppressor. And we look up to them.
Mm.
And they got our oppressor's best interests before ours, but representing us.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're Dr. So-and-so with 3 masters, we think that their shit don't stink.
Mm.
Talk to him. Talk to him, Bob Mfundishi. You know.
So we got, so a couple of things. When you're at war, you got to be strategic about these things, and we haven't been.
Every group understands this. Every group understands strategy.
At Spelman College, their graduation just happened. They had 7 women who are valedictorians. 7 women just graduated with all different majors, all got perfect 4.0 over their 4 years in college, and 7 people. Now, is that on the news?
Which school is this, Baba?
At Spelman.
At Spelman.
Right. This graduation class, 7 7. There's no white college that has that. 7 valedictorians.
I know a boots a shot is in the chat. You said Spelman. She's doing somersaults, right? As a Spelman grad, she's doing somersaults, right? There she go. My alma mater.
I'm just showing you. So the black excellence that we even have is not even enhanced.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And come on, I'm a professor of African studies for 40 years. It's a Band-Aid effect where a major operation needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Band-Aid effect where a major operation needs to happen.
Yeah.
Got to underscore that. Definitely.
Yeah.
You're on a life support system, and I run in with a Band-Aid and say, "Here, Taki."
Use me as an example. So
you just Taki in a coma. You're gonna just put it on his forehead. That's good. I was like, what?
I mean, we laughing, but that's how serious this is.
Yeah.
It is facts.
Really serious.
Yeah.
That's a fact. So
we don't have a double check on anything. We're not double checking anything.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't put a priority list together.
Yeah.
And part of the challenge is Baba and Mfundishi started by saying we're at war. When you're at war, you have 2 opposing factions. But like I said, there's some of us that don't believe that we're a group. How could you wage a war when you are not? You people thinking they're not part of a group.
And that leads me to my next. Open the door for the next discussion I want to have. And first things first, we understand that we need healing through unity. We need to really figure out a way to, obviously on the foundational level, that's why I started with the family, because that leads to community, and that leads to understanding what moves we need to take with, ownership of our real estate, ownership of our politicians, ownership of the police, like ownership just in general, ownership of everything we have, even down to our history.
Everything that you need.
Everything that we need to have ownership, but that comes from a foundational level. We start there. From our foundational level, we grow and move forward. Now, as I look again through this crazy internet thing that's going on, one of the big battles is Foundation of Black Americans, so-called ADOS, Foundation of Black Americans, and denying of other African groups. And I don't know. I just like, goddamn, can we get a win somewhere here? Because it's like we're not fighting on this side, black men and black women, we're fighting black groups. It's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So, this is problematic, and the noise coming from both sides. I'm not going to say it's one side because I hear things coming from both sides. Most people have very strong opinions about the other groups. But again, culture being our medicine, and Pan-Africanism, I feel is a part of that medicine. You understand what I'm saying? And how we had Dr. Clark said, Pan-Africanism or perish. I think that's critical.
Yes.
It's critical. And we need to, some of this has to be, addressed. And, the attack they had on Professor Smalls recently, it's insane. I can't even fathom like what's happening here, and people don't understand that like disunity does not work on any level. And it's at a point where we have to stop allowing them to divide and conquer. That's essentially what's happening. And they divided and conquering on every level, whether it's in the family, whether it's in politics. This shit with black Republicans and Democrats going back and forth is amazing. Like, what the hell? We're gonna fight about everything. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna fight about everything. And now we got this thing where we're just talking about this Pan-African thing. So, Bob and Mfundishi, what are your thoughts on that, man? How do we get these people to stop talking craziness and figure that, we need this black unity worldwide?
Well, there's some fundamental things that you have. When you're preparing people for war, you have a boot camp. You have a boot camp where you're preparing people at war at the various positions. So social media is a front that you got to deal with. So you got to have warriors who are dealing with social media. AI is part right now of the battle. You got to have warriors just controlling some aspect of how AI is presented. Because right now, we're just putting our hands in AI. AI is racist. The people who program AI is racist. The majority of this, if you put in beautiful woman, and a white woman is going to come up. Put in a handsome man, a white man is automatically coming up. If you don't say, I want a handsome black man, you're not going to get. Just humanity is geared towards the European persona. And AI is projecting that. And so fundamentally, black farmers market. Come on, we've been talking about this forever. We got black farmers. We got to get control of that. And we got to be able to feed that into black communities. Food is a weapon.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And if you don't control that weapon, you're at the mercy of your enemy.
Yeah.
So every black city almost in America was at the mercy of the European who controls them. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's a reality. We got to, but we got millions of farmers, and we got a large array, but we don't have the dissemination, the communication, and the distribution to get to it. We can develop it, but it has to be a priority. And again, I'm not going out there when I say we're at war. People think I'm thinking, let's go get some guns and run out there. No, right now, what is it? Intellectual war? It's a spiritual war where the chains is wrapped around your brain. If you add the average sister, now, I know the average brother don't know, but ask the average sister, and thinking you at war is the furthest thing for her mind. She's going to get her nails done, get some new eyelashes on, and get this new dress this weekend because we're approaching the weekend. That's not how you prepare to liberate yourself. And that's the average. Brother, we can liberate ourselves with the money sisters spend on hair.
So
I know y'all don't want to hear this. What black women spend on hair, we can liberate the black community. I know y'all don't want to hear that, but that's a reality.
So listen, that definitely is a reality, and that's the fight rabbit hole. I'm trying to make some peace with them. You know what I'm saying?
No, but here's the deal, Baba Mfundishi. If we controlled our own hair markets, maybe it would look different. The problem is not what's spent on hair. The problem is who it's being spent with.
Right. Facts.
But the reality is we don't listen, y'all know this. Just go to any hair shop in your neighborhood. You see who's running the shop. So let's be really clear that if we had just a modicum of control of that industry, we would be in a different position. But part of the reason why we don't is because we have, once again, culture is your medicine, right? As long as you're looking for, Indie Tremi, as long as you're looking for Indian here, Malaysian here, I mean, how do we control the Indian and Malaysian here markets? The problem is that culture must be your medicine.
Yes.
And so it's full circle, Baba. It's full circle to how he started this dialogue.
But see,
and we're not hating on y'all because we bald headed. Okay.
I haven't seen Baba what I
trying to control our own medicine.
Listen, Baba had locks. Listen, I when Baba met me, I was bald.
So. 5 years.
And listen, so I want to get back to the attack against Pan-Africanism, because that's what the discussion is. So Jabari, what are your thoughts, man? What can we do to combat some of this? Because this is it's plain foolishness right now.
This is difficult, but it is not impossible. There is no community in the United States that has been met with more difficult situations and had victory. Okay, so it's us. We can do this, right? But the challenge that we have right now is that the people who are attacking us look like us. And I want to be really clear, and I'm going to get heat for this. I know I am, but the heat must come. The reality is that some of the groups that are working towards our disunity are cutouts. Somebody's saying, what's a cutout? A cutout is a group. It's these days in the age of the internet, they don't even need to be us. Really, they don't really need to be us. They just need to seem to be us.
Yep.
Very often what happens is outside groups are in control of groups or individuals that pretend to be us. This has always been the strategy. And then those individuals who are receiving some sort of individual benefit for going against their people, they gather other people who are unwittingly utilized. These are the useful idiots. Literally in intelligent community, I'm using intelligence terminology, cut out, and they call them UIs, which means useful idiots. These are people who, they mean well, they just don't know anything. So they're literally harming themselves. And you have to say that there was a point where everyone was rocking ADOS, and then we found out, wait a minute, this is a cutout. So then they shifted to FBA. And I want to be really clear. So many people who are in FBA are people that I love and care about. I spoke at the first national FBA conference. I was one of the keynotes. But I think we know enough now to know that many of the people who are in organized FBA movements, even just online, most of what they do is attack other Black people. And so this is the challenge that we have. This is a little bit different than what our the attack upon us used to look like, right? And so that's why we're flailing a little bit, because we're struggling, because we actually have to fight people that look like us. You saw what happened to Professor Small. And his words critiquing some of those movements were mild. And he got attacked online because of it. The reality is that all you have to do is watch them carefully, and you're going to see that they are promoting things that are not in our favor. We talked about Black farmers, that we have Black farmers. Well, listen, you know that farmers of any stripe, of any ethnicity, of any community have been catching hell for at least the last 10 years, right? Well, how are any of them surviving? They get government bailouts. It has been absolutely proven that bailouts have never gone to Black farmers. That is an electoral issue, by the way. So we have to connect all of these things together. But then, of course, then we talk about the fact that so many of us are attacking each other. How can we unify for one agenda that can support Black farmers, that can ensure that as we're giving inordinate amounts of taxes, those tax dollars will go back to entities that we control? This is the reality. This is the reality. Every single institution in our community actually I'm not aware of any powerful institutions that are entirely driven by our own dollars. Most communities are like that. It's not just
I
us.
need to make this statement, Jabari. We don't really have any communities. We got neighborhoods.
Damn.
That's what I mean. I mean neighborhoods, and I understand the distinction. Can you describe that a bit more?
Yes, just even the word community. You know, Black people coming together in unity, or families coming together in total unity, thinking as one mind. That means controlling the businesses, controlling the stores, controlling the economics, the politics, and the culture. We don't control any of that. Even when
We have areas where we live.
Right, where we live. Even when we have a Black face there. And so a community has to have control of that. So we haven't even made that a priority. Okay, within the 5 blocks you are, how many stores we have? Maybe we need to come together and pool and take over the community store here. But that's not a priority.
Yeah.
Other people come in and it's a priority, economics for them. HAPI teaches economics, but we haven't taught how to take control of our community economically. So we need to be able to do that, to have a real community. You know, is there a center there taking care of the elderly? Is there a center there taking care of the youth? Is there a center there for the after-school program that's outside of the Board of Education, which is our enemy, which is controlled by Black people, which doesn't have culture as our ally? And they will fight us if we try to make it that way. So we'd be back when you talk about talking, we'd be fighting against some other Black people. I think we need to have some Swahili, and we need to have Madu Necha and some drumming, and we need to talk about ancient Kemet in Africa. We get thrown out. We're subject to get shot. Talking about that in our own community.
I hear economics, the word being used in the last few minutes. And one of the things is to go back for a second with this fight. Not much of a fight, but this unity mechanism between the African diaspora is this talk around reparations. You know, money's, you've always say, if you want to find an answer to something, follow the money. Follow the money, man. Money, that'll lead you pretty much to the crux of this. And it seems like that is at the center of the hate, is this thought or notion that, you know, we would get reparations and those people may mess up our money. What are your thoughts on that, Jabari? Because you shaking your head.
The first thing I'm going to say is, what do you mean? The president is talking about reparations right now. Oh, you mean for the people that attacked the Capitol? They're going to get reparations.
That's right.
Did y'all not recognize that $1 billion fund is reparations?
Yes. Wow.
They won't even mention reparations for Black folk, but they're giving reparations for people who attacked the Capitol. That's where we are.
And everybody
so the reality,
in the Capitol got pardoned.
That's right. They got pardoned. Now they're about to get money.
Even if you shot somebody or harmed somebody, you got pardoned.
Let's be clear, not somebody, police. Police. Listen, if I had written this in a script 10 years ago, no one would have picked that up. They'd be like, this is a comic book. That can't be real. But that's what we're really dealing with right now. And the reality is that some of the folks who have been most vocal about reparations thought that if they sided with one side of the political spectrum, that would move the ball forward. I don't know why they thought that. But the reality is that our quest for reparations must continue, obviously. But we have to recognize that battle for reparations need not be so divisive. When I was at the FBA, the first FBA conference, I made a proposal from the stage. And the thing is, half the crowd booed me, the other crowd half cheered me. And when they booed and cheered, they looked at each other like, wait. The reality is that if we're talking about reparations, we should be talking about reparations for people who were enslaved. But what happens if your family got here in 1866? You ain't been catching hell. You ain't had the boot of white supremacy on your neck since then. We should be talking about two pools of reparations. There are strategies that would unify rather than disunify. But most of the people who are speaking loudly for reparations, I want to be very clear. I believe that they are compromised. So that while the majority of our people have been arguing for reparations for a long time, the people that many people view as the leaders of reparation movements, they have been compromised. This isn't NCOBRA, the primary reparations institution. We see that ADOS was compromised because we know that one of its leaders got caught getting money, particularly from a white supremacist. So that's the reason why people shifted away from ADOS. Mm-hmm. It became clear she was getting money from a white supremacist. What else is happening on the other side? And let's be really clear, that other leader is a friend, but he has gone completely astray. It's not that I'm not talking about someone that I don't know. I've broken bread with them in my own home, but that movement has gone astray and is disunifying.
And I'm going to add something to that. When the United Nations just voted that the African enslavement, the European enslavement of the slave trade of the 16, 17, 18, 1900s was the most hideous crime to humanity. 123 countries said yes, that was the dominant, so it passed. I think 23 countries in Europe said neutral. We're not going to vote because we benefited from it, but we're not going to vote. Only 3 countries said no. The United States, Israel, and Argentina. All slave states. But guess what their argument was? Everything we did was legal. Slavery was legal. Jim Crow was legal. Us lynching your butt because you eyeballed my woman was legal. Emmett Till, that was legal. He shouldn't have whistled. Everything that they said was legal. So therefore, if it was legal, we don't owe you squat.
Mm. That's precisely what happened. And then folks in the reparations movement attacked the person who spoke most passionately for reparations, the president of Ghana. They said, he's coming for our reparations. And I said, huh? Did you listen to his speech? What did he say he was coming for your reparations?
Yeah.
And I challenged some of them. Taki, these are people that I love. And I'm not talking about some person I just met online. Some of these people who are useful idiots are people that we know.
Yes.
And I challenged someone in my own shrine, Taki.
Oh my God.
The enemy is in the building.
So let me ask this.
Hey, the money thing is real though, man. I tell you, follow the money.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Make us
have we ever been totally unified? I doubt it. Because even if you talk back in the Malcolm X and Martin days, there was a split. There were some people against Malcolm, some people against Martin, and that goes way back. So I think the only way we're going to unify now to some degree, because I don't think we need everybody, because Europe didn't need everyone to conquer us, right? The Arabs didn't need everybody to conquer us. They just followed the few people that put these programs together. So we probably just need to, because it seems like there's an identity thing when it comes to us unifying, whether it's Christians, whether it's Black Muslims, whether it's FBA, whether it's Kemetic, whether it's Israelite, the list goes on, right? Whether you blood, whether you Crip. But if we just unify on, let's just say, real estate, I think that would be a good start. Like Mfundishi said, farming, because we come together and unify for certain things, like when it comes to maybe comedy, when it comes to music. So my question is, do we need something? Because it always seems like we need something like traumatizing to happen in order for us to come together and let's just say march.
But we have to acknowledge that you don't need 100% agreement that's not what unity is, right?
Yes.
There's no group would ever do that. But the reality is, if you look at the history of Black folk in the United States, we have taken large group action. Just look at the number of people who moved from the South to the West and to the North. We're talking about millions of people got up and left. Can you imagine if everyone in Harlem said, this ain't good for us, and just left?
Yeah, but they need something.
But-
They need a reason to do that.
But what I'm saying is that we have to while we have to critique what we've been doing, we have to also recognize that we have done more unified group actions than any other group in the United States.
Yes.
Right? So saying that we've never been unified is not necessarily going to help us, right? The reality is that we've been more unified than anybody.
Yes.
The challenge is now, this is a new battle because some of us wonder whether there is a we. Before we were clear there was a we. We could argue over what tactics were. That's what the battle between Malcolm and Martin were. They weren't on opposite sides. They were disagreeing on tactics. You see the pictures of them meeting. They didn't square up. They smiled and shook hands because they recognized they were talking about tactics. These were not opposing sides. And we can have debates on tactics. There's nothing wrong with debating tactics. The problem is now we're not sure whether the we exist. How do you make group movements if people say, I'm not in your group? I'm not black, I'm a Christian. There are people who say that.
See, we have to have...
Listen, I'm a historian. You can't find a black person saying that from the 1700s all the way up to the current day. This is something you will hear commonly now. I'm Christian before I'm black.
So we have to
There's
have
something
topics.
different happening that we must speak to.
We have to have topics that pull everybody together. See, Malcolm said, you're not catching hell because you're a Christian. You're not catching hell just because you're a Muslim. You're not catching hell because you're Kemetic. You're catching hell because you're black.
Right.
And when they don't know if you're a Pan-Africanist or nationalist or you're black.
Yeah.
So those are some things that we got to be able to come together with. We got to eat. I don't care what religion, what group you belong to. We all need food. We need to come together. We need to educate our children. I don't care what denomination we come together on the basis of what we have foremost in common. And so that cuts through the specific headings of your group. We're all black and we're catching hell because we're black.
And if we're smart enough, then we'll have the culture events, the culture activities in those spaces.
Yes.
That's what Baba was saying earlier, by the way. We're moving quickly, but I heard you, Baba, because those things have to happen in those spaces where our needs are being met. Because we have to remind people that we do have commonality.
Yes.
Right? We're not just unified by discrimination.
That we all need. You see all them people in them food lines. What made the Black Panther Party so powerful was not the bullets going across their chests. It was the programs that they were doing that they knew everybody needed some food. They knew that senior citizens needed some aid. They knew that you needed a preschool. It didn't matter what your religion was.
Coats for the winter.
Yes, coats.
All of these programs that you see municipalities running, these were Black Panther programs. There was no coats for the winter programs before the Black Panthers. Those didn't exist. So many of the
what group you belong to, you need a coat.
Yeah.
And here you are to provide it. And while you're handing them the coat, you're saying, there's a meeting this Friday, bro.
That's right. That's right.
Blah blah. And you put it together.
Those breakfast programs that parents needed and still need desperately. Those didn't exist before the Panthers. They had after-school programs and breakfast programs.
Yes.
Listen, I've worked in schools for a long time. A lot of kids come there hungry. A lot of kids are at those schools hungry. And you cannot learn if you're hungry.
No.
You cannot.
No.
So the reality is that the Panthers, with all of their revolutionary rhetoric, which was dead on, they recognized that you had to address people's needs.
They understood they were at war. We don't even understand. Like Jabari said, we don't even understand we're black. I heard a comedian on the TV the other day says, I found out that I've been black my whole life. I didn't know that. And everybody, they thought it was hysterical. And she says, you know, there's a lot of people who don't know they black, you know, and she had this Caribbean accent, and she was hilarious, but everything she was saying was true. And people thought it was comedy.
We've gotten to the point where we question the we. This is a big issue now. By the way, listen,
it is, and this is why we wanted to take this opportunity to have this discussion, because there are a lot of ills right now.
Yeah,
and they all have one underlying thing, and that is disunity. And
I got told off the other day. I called a sister a queen in a store this week. She said, "What did you call me?" I said, "Queen. Don't call me that." I said, "Sister." She said, "Don't call me that." I started backing away. Is this a crazy person? No, she's not. She's not crazy in the traditional sense. She's crazy in the cultural dislocation sense.
Which is
we have to attack this.
Which is at epidemic proportions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is look at social media and look. You know what? Every group that gathers power, one of the things that they establish is that their women are put at the standard of beauty in their culture. Every group, except for our group. Our group, the standard of beauty is still the white people's standard.
We were programmed, and we have not effectively
attacked that program. Medicine. Culture is not our medicine. Every text historically you read, the most long-lived black people, and now black men have the shortest lifespan in one of the richest countries in the world. There's something.
I saw a comment: the Norman Jew is behind the creation of the KKK. I don't know about that. I'm gonna tell you that white people created the KKK, and you have to understand the KKK was created so they could destroy the black vote. Please understand what that was. Listen. I have read more books on the KKK than probably any black person you've ever seen. I've always been interested in that. I'll never forget my mother. I must have been in 4th grade. I got in trouble because there was a $20 bill that came to the house because I hadn't turned back the library books. My mother came in and said, "Let me see these books that you have," and they were all on the Third Reich. She said, "You're reading these?" She said, "Why?" She was so worried. She's like, "Does my little black son know that he's black?" But the reality is, you must know your enemy. I even understood that in 4th grade.
Yes,
I wasn't identifying with them.
Yeah.
I was thinking even then, how could this happen on such a large scale? What were they talking about?
Yeah, that's one thing, Jabari. You brought up a good point. Our opposition groups go to a great deal in studying us. This is why we're kind of doing the same thing. He shifted up certain tactics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's good at that because he studies, he watches, see what works, what don't work, and he's going to make adjustments to that. We need to start doing that. We need to really figure out the enemy. We need to know the opponent. We need to study them. We don't do any of that.
When I was in the movement in the 1960s, Amambo Amir Baraka had this meeting, and this was the start of the Africana Studies. He says the greatest African Studies department is in the FBI and CIA.
Oh, I'm surprised.
He said that our best African Studies department, let me just put it on the spot. Dr. J probably had the largest African Studies department that existed in the modern world. It's a Mickey Mouse thing compared to the FBI and the CIA on the information they have on black people. Do we have that type of investigation on white people? We know their personality, but we don't know how they tick like that.
Right.
Like they know how we tick.
Right.
So that they can control our community overnight.
But Baba and Mfundishi, I asked Hunter if I could teach a class on white supremacist movements. And they went, "On what?"
but Jabari, you got to give that context. Because Hunter means nothing to people that don't know. Please tell them Hunter.
I wrote a 5-page analysis of.
No. What I'm saying is, what is Hunter?
Oh, I'm sorry, Hunter College. That's part of the City University of New York, the largest municipal system in the country. But understand that I thought that we should teach a course on white supremacist movements because we need to understand what a white supremacist movement is. We need to understand what their strategies are, who they idolize, what their terminology is, what their aims are, because there are white supremacist movements today in this period that people don't understand their white supremacist movements anymore. They don't wear hoods anymore. They don't need to wear hoods. Now listen, y'all saw them go.
All of Trump's allies were white supremacist movements.
And let's be clear, his first wife said at his bedside he had a copy of Mein Kampf that he would read to go to sleep. That's his first wife said that. It's in the record. And so when you hear him give speeches and you're like, that's Nazi rhetoric, he goes, I don't know what that is. Stop it. We know his father was arrested at a KKK rally in Queens, New York. This is what's happening. But you have the useful idiots that are not able to make analysis and they're moving in that direction.
At war, information is your greatest weapon.
Yes.
And we lacking the information to liberate ourselves because, first of all, we don't know our culture. And we don't even know who we are. Like you said, we're arguing over whether we Negroes, Black, Afro-American, African, Pan-Africanist. We're arguing over titles.
So Aboriginal.
Yes.
And I'm gonna say this, and some Hebrews are gonna be angry with me. Hebrews, it's not all Hebrews. Let me be clear, it's not all Hebrews. When I'm in Ghana, I'm chilling with Hebrew Israelites that are like, we are African, let's do it. We eating food and playing drums, and I'm not talking about all of them. But there's a large, the more vocal part of them. They say that Africans are cursed. They're cursed.
You know what? On that note,
and by the way, Taki, when I speak to them and I mention the conversation they're having, we saw that. Please don't mention our names. We don't want to argue with them either.
I wanna grab onto something you just said about Africans. Would you say Africans being enslaved or cursed? Cursed. That was the terminology. Cursed. But before we get into that, family, please like, comment, and share. As you know, this is a very, very powerful discussion. Get it out to many folks as we can. Thank you for the people who've supported the platform with the super chats and the cash apps. It goes a long way. It helps us to continue the conversation. It helps with the studio conversations, which we're going to have on next season coming up. So we actually have a few more shows to release. Then we'll go back into recording again. Helps us also create the ecosystem around a lot of the artwork, the videos, and everything that you see with Black creators and content individuals, content creation individuals. And this is a great thing, just being able to create the ecosystem for Black economics. So family, get a chance. If you have a few dollars to support it, it goes in a good location, goes in the right direction. Before we move on to the next discussion, because there's one more topic I want to cover. Haj, you got anything you want to add to this real quick before we move on?
No, I'm good, brother.
You good?
Yeah.
So I know for you two gentlemen here, well, for Hassan as well, but for the panel we have here, for the esteemed panel, this is something that is very near and dear to your hearts, because it's something very near and dear to my heart. And when you mentioned the curse thing, it kind of reminded me of this narrative that's going on in modern day Egypt today. And with the actually there's an image I want to show. They always use this image, a lot of these folks online, and we've had our dealings with the individuals, but I'm coming to the notion now that it's pretty much more than individuals, it's more the Egyptian government that's kind of behind a lot of this stuff, in terms of rewriting the narrative or erasing the African presence in the now. So I want to show this image quickly, and then we're going to get into a video, small video clip of an interview that occurred maybe a few weeks ago. I don't have the exact date, but we'll get into that video clip, and I want to get your brother's opinions about this and figure out what we can do, because this is becoming a real issue. It really is. So we're just waiting for that. But anyway, before we get into that, we know where we are right now. We know that ancient Kemet was black. And it's interesting to me, you know, we've all had our discussions about this, and there was a Cairo symposium 52 years ago, 1974, that debunked the myth of any notion of ancient Egypt being outside of Africa and not being non-Africans. And it's interesting because it seems this thing that they have, it seems to be picking up steam. We kind of ignored it in 22, but it seems like it just keeps going on and on and on, and it's not going to stop. And it seems like it's just growing and growing and growing. And they are hell bent on producing this narrative of, again, this non-black Egypt. So while we're waiting for that, we'll start with you, Mfundishi. What are your thoughts? I know you have a lot to say about this. I same thing with you, Jabari. I know you have a lot to say about this. But again, it goes to ownership, right? It goes to us owning our civilization. It goes to owning our culture and reclaiming the now.
Yes.
And
control
go ahead.
the situation defines the situation. I want to put a picture in your head to show you how deep this is. Have you ever seen a black caveman in any drawings? When European anthropologists, archaeologists, all of them realized that so-called European with white skin, blonde hair, blue, didn't exist on the planet before 8,000 years ago. So pre-flood, everybody was black. Let me say it again for people who are here. Pre-flood, everybody on the planet, whether they were in China, Europe, Asia, America, was black. The genotype that makes up what we call the European today only existed from about 8,000 to 6,000 years ago. And so most of them come about after even Kemet was in existence. And so even the first Europeans that we talk about, the first Neanderthal, the first Denisovan, if we go back, Homo erectus, all of them were black. And shades of black. Various shades of brown and black. So I just need to say that. So, and you notice on one wall, if we go to Temple of Seti, on one wall, it has from Narmer all the way up to Seti in the 19th dynasty to Ursa Ma'at Ra, Setepin Ra. He lists all the kings. On the opposite wall, it says they're rulers for 36,000 years. They ignore that wall and say that's fictitious, that's mythology. But this wall is correct. It's the same author. Jabari, it would be like people saying, well, you know, Jabari, your chapter 1 and chapter 2 is okay. But chapter 3 and chapter 4, we're just going to ignore that. That's mythology. But I'm going to give you an award for your book. But we're just going to ignore your last 2 chapters, you know. So that's what they're doing in ancient Kemet. So they're saying that, oh, wow, these guys were geniuses and meticulous. And every king almost, with the exception of 1 or 2. But on the other wall, that's just mythology. And everybody's black. Okay, all right, go ahead, Taki, into your new thing. Go ahead.
So,
I wanted to mention something really quickly.
Listen, go ahead, Jabari, say that again.
When he mentioned that there were no, that they never depict cave people as black, well, I mean, we weren't exactly living in caves, but I want to be really clear. This is interesting. If for those of you who want to know more about how racist that depiction of the prehistoric world is, look for the story of Cheddar Man. Cheddar Man was a fossil found in an area near London. And for many years, there was a reconstruction of him that looked like a hairy, you know, a very thin-haired, flying over the place white dude. Well, recently they've done DNA analysis on his fossil, and they realized that he was black. And that community protested. So this is exactly what Baba Mfundishi is talking about. They wore t-shirts that said, "Not my cheddar, man." So just know that the European phenotype that we're familiar with today is new. These are the young people on the planet.
Right.
These are young people.
Right. So we put this image up because a lot of the naysayers of the African presence in the Nile like to show things like this, like to show the captives. And this is an image from the temple of Ramses II at Abu Simbel on the side. And this always interests me because when you go into the entrance, one side has these Euro-Asians and one side would have a group of Africans. And they would use this to say, this is the attitude towards all Black people or other Black groups. Let me just put it that way. And it was really interesting when we look at the other side, you see that they had hostilities or beef with almost damn near everybody in Asia. There was like 4 different distinct groups, and these different distinct groups by their hairstyles and so forth, like this with the feather coming from the head. This is one particular tribe, and they always try to make it seem like there's this brown and Black kind of enmity between Nile Valley groups, or really Black and some ambiguous kind of thing. So there's this notion going on now that the Black presence in the Nile did not exist, even to the point where these Egyptians today will deny their own heritage as being Black. Because essentially what is happening now is the definition of Black has changed. It has changed a long time ago from, well, they were Black to maybe not the Blacks over there. Now to just the conversation doesn't exist at all. So I know, Mfundishi, you've been in this fight for a long time. You've been at war for a long time, longer than anyone on this panel about this particular subject matter. For that reason, we're going to start with you, and we'll get this discussion going on and what we can do, because that's essentially, we're talking anecdotal stuff, because I'm at the point where it's like, what can we do? And for me, HAPI is a big thing for that, to combat that, to address this. But what are some of the other things we can do anecdotally to combat this issue?
Well, again, I think nobody was better than Diop, because he approached this from a historical, cultural, anthropological, archaeological, literature. He approached it from every angle, even that the early white scholars said the ancient Egyptians was Black. He approached it from every, and they couldn't deal with him. So now they're reinventing the wheel. It's like the wheel was perfected already. Yeah. And now they're reinventing the wheel, saying that, no, we really invented the wheel, and that really wasn't a real wheel. Everybody knows there's a book called The Arab Invasion of Egypt. It tells you the 600s is when they came.
681.
It's not like a secret. It's not like Mfundishi made this stuff up.
Right. And not to mention other countless invasions before that.
And this book is done by an Arab. Okay, all right. So now let me get another one. There's a tape that you can get on YouTube. I know some people, if they look on my channel, they'll find it. It has Egypt in 1928.
And everybody's Black.
Everybody's Black.
Exactly. That's the part that amazes me.
It's done by the Smithsonian Institute. And it's talking about Egypt in 1928, and everybody's Black. Ain't no Arabs around almost.
But see, the amazing thing, and I'm my apologies for cutting you off, but the amazing thing about that is where white supremacy exists, you'll see the same tactic in terms of breeding the Black out of the population.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is something that it's been done successfully rather in Central America, Northeast Africa, North Africa. You see it. It's been a strategy for a very, very long time that people just marry and with lighter people, and eventually the population will get lighter. And this is done deliberately. And a lot of it's a sickness. it goes back to that sickness thing, that they will deny themselves because they don't want to associate themselves with being black. You know, and it's an amazing thing. Like, you know, Jabari said something a while ago, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna go to you, Jabari, in a minute, but about we can't, and I agree with you with this, about the Egyptian population today. We can't say that none of them were or have the blood of the pharaonic blood in them in terms of them being a part of that. And that's a fact. That's a fact. We agree with that. What we can't say is how they are just outright denying the fact that the past was black. And we didn't even go that far, like Mfundishi said, like 1928.
Even Hawass, talking about Hawass ain't even Egyptian. I mean, Hawass parents come from Morocco and Turkey, you know, and thinking about us, our Egyptians, you know.
That's amazing. That I didn't know that. That's
I'm just
amazing.
trying to show you how deep it is.
It is very deep. It's very deep. Go ahead, Jabari.
And if you look right now in Egypt, come on, Taki, we go every year. You see, they're building more buildings than almost any country.
Yes. And that's why I think the narrative has changed so much.
The Middle East is moving to Egypt. And guess what? They can't tell their children in school that your grandparents were desert dwellers. You can't tell them that they were the thieves of the desert.
Woo, but see,
before oil, they had nothing. You can't tell them that.
So it's interesting. Huh? It's interesting because once upon a time they stood on the fact that this is the Arab Republic, and they were proud of that.
Yeah.
And there was no discussion, or really not mainstream discussion, where it was like, oh, they were black or not. That wasn't really much of a discussion. But now the narrative is strong to the point where we know about the One Africa conference that they went after, Kevin Hart, the Cleopatra movie on Netflix. There was some museums in Europe that had some images, pharaonic images, and you know, people were black, and they went crazy for that. So any information that's out there, any narrative that's out there that speaks of the African primacy of the now is something they jump all over. And it's interesting because there was a conversation, like I was saying earlier, with the brother comedian Godfrey and some other on his platform with this Egyptian brother. I think it's Bassem. Can't think of his full name right now.
Youssef.
Yeah, you've seen it. So we want to play that clip, and then after we play that clip, we'll go to you, Jabari, and kind of see what are your thoughts about that. And again, from an anecdotal standpoint, because it all goes into unity and it all goes into ownership. So go ahead. We're going to play that in a second.
Giza, had a chance to go inside of the pyramid Giza. I didn't realize how small the opening was at 6'6". I'm like, dang, I gotta kind of squeeze my way through here. I was kind of surprised by that. But there's all these conversations on who built the pyramids. Let's talk about it. Who the hell built the pyramids?
Aliens. I love aliens. Well, here's the thing. If pyramids were built by white people, if the pyramids were in Scandinavia, nobody would have doubt. It was like, oh, maybe it's the aliens. I don't know. We don't trust the abilities of these Egyptians.
Right.
You know, nobody would say that.
Right.
But it seems for some reason, like we are the only culture that everybody is claiming it's theirs.
Wow.
The Jews said, look, we build the pyramids, get the out. They were not even there when the pyramids were built. And well, archaeologically and historically, people build their impression about history by a cartoon called The Prince of Egypt. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. So everybody thought like, oh my God, we built the pyramids. They didn't. All right. Some other people say, well, it's the aliens. All right. Okay. Good luck. At least the aliens chose us. So, and then there is this whole thing about the Afrocentric thing, with all due respect. You know, this whole thing, people trying to claim that the pyramids were built by an African culture, and then we as Arabs came as invaders. This is very dangerous and it's very wrong. First of all, Western African culture are extremely rich. You have an incredible history. You have, for example, the Kingdom of Mali, which is one of the richest kingdoms in history. The fact that people would claim other cultures as theirs and then consider other people as invaders, it is insulting, and it is kind of like, it's factually and historically not true. And I believe that there is a lot in the African culture and the African history that they can be proud of, instead of trying to get or claim some other cultures as theirs.
Jabari. I see you smiling, man. Go ahead, JB.
Well,
Talk to us.
I found it. I want to show you something that I have rarely showed. Let's start here, okay? This is from my trip to Italy, right? And I want to, I was supposed to do a short documentary on it, and I never did. So I'm showing something I haven't really showed in public. But what I want you to see is, first of all, this is a drawing made. Let's see if we can make this larger. This is a drawing made by an Italian who plundered. Let's just be clear. He was a plunderer, right? Named Bernardetto Giorvetti, one of the most important folks that brought lots of artifacts, right? This is in the 1800. Wait, I'm going to even show you. I'm not going to even tell you. Here we go. 1818. Can you see that? Bernardino Giorvetti. They made this drawing as he stood there for it. And they tell you who they think the people are. Let's be clear. Characters are from left, an Egyptian, some European folks, an Egyptian, an Egyptian, an Egyptian. 1818, right? I want you to look at the image again. Now let me close up on them. This is the brother who was an Egyptian. And clearly we're talking about a person of African descent. But let's go further. What's going on with this dude who is an Egyptian? This is before they sought to remove the image of Africans. 1818, Bernardino Giorvetti. This is in Museo Egizio in Turin, Italy. So I just want to be really clear that when we're talking about the fact that this attempt to remove African people from this, that it is new. It is new. And I think that what we have to do is we have to recognize, I'll say what you were recapping something I said earlier, Taki, I'm going to say it again. Some of those people that we might consider Arab today, some of them whose families have been there for literally hundreds of years, some of them have intermarried with some of the people that were originally there. So to pretend that every single Arab that is there is new would be too simplistic. But on the same token, we must recognize that all you have to do is study history and know that there were invasions of the Persians, the Assyrians, the Ottoman Empire, all of the Greeks before that, the Romans before that. We should expect that even those people who have some heritage with the ancients, their phenotype should have changed. And so what I've done, there's a dark-skinned Egyptian that comes on the Sonnetter's platform and attacks me sometimes. And I said, brother, instead of us arguing, do one thing, and then we'll have a better conversation. I'm going to ask you to take a DNA test.
Yes.
He got angry. And I was pleased. He was yelling and screaming. I was just like this. And I said, family, you have to understand that he too is a useful idiot. That essentially he is identifying with white supremacy. And I said, brother, you're not white. Your family has been there for a long time. You're probably correct. Do a DNA test and let's have a conversation.
You know, Jabari, that's one of the things that I just want to make sure we underscore in this conversation, that the black hate or the African hate just does not exist with the Arabs.
That's
the
right.
Black people in southern Egypt and northern Sudan feel the same way, you know, and it's to the point where it's colorism.
This is an intricate global system of white supremacy.
Absolutely.
That's what this is. It's the same thing that he's dealing with. Is I can walk down the block in Harlem and go into a store and find skin whitener.
Right.
I don't know if y'all know that, but it's in the hood. It's everywhere.
Yes, and that's a big thing for the black population.
Global system. Now, Bassem Youssef, stop it, man. Look at your blue eyes. You are not. Your family was not there. Bassem Youssef, I agree with you politically, but you are not a historian. You are a comedian. Let's be really clear. By the way, I sent a message to him on X. He didn't respond. But I want to be really clear that we have to recognize that we are talking about how this society has attacked Black people and how there is a global system that attacks Black people.
Right.
And that even some of the folks that are people that we can look at them and see that they have African heritage, they will disclaim it too.
Oh, absolutely.
But let's be clear, the majority of people, including Zahi Hawass, people have come much more recently.
What we have in the Sudan today, we have two separate countries that maybe about 20 years ago, the Sudan split to the Sudan and to South Sudan, and two separate countries. But prior to that, there was a 20-year war between North and South Sudan. It was essentially, I would like, for lack of better terms, we would say the Afro-Arab North against the African South. But, it's interesting just being there and seeing that culture. I actually had the opportunity to see slavery in Sudan with African people. So it's real. And this is Black on Black, but the people in the North don't consider themselves Black.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a really, really deep thing when you really like look at it from all perspectives and just see how vast Black hate is even amongst ourselves. Yeah. So there's another thing I want to kind of video I want to show. This is something that when I go to Egypt, when I see things like that, it just all type of alarms and things going on in my head. And one of the things that we know for sure, we know throughout history, is they've done many things to try to erase the Black image from, knocking off the noses and things like that. But family, for those who don't know, this is the Ipet Set, what they call the Karnak Temple. Mm-hmm. That is the Aked, or the right, not the Hermaket, the Aked, the gateway to go inside. Here's the hypostyle hall. And if you can see here, there's a lot of in the next shot coming up, there's a lot of what they consider restoration work that's going on in the temple. This restoration work that they have, that they so-called restoration work, is you'll see a lot of changing the images, like here. So where this once was a dark brown is red. I want to actually come back to that last scene right there and just maybe hold it for a second, so maybe that they can kind of see that. And this is something that's being done now. They are kind of, because everything that we had, we didn't leave kind of beige. This is all colored. Everything had light, bright colors on it. And, far as you can see it from as far as your eye can see. But one of the things here under this new, I guess, regime, and it was happening in Egypt, you can see here how they're changing the color of the images. This is under the guise of restoration, but this is actually rewriting history. So this is something that we need to be aware of. And this is something that, again, here for us in HAPI, we're looking at different ways to address some of these things. And, one of the things is, we look at our history, here we go again. That's actually a much better thing because it's holding there. But no, that's good, Fee. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, welcome, Sister Felicia. You kind of snuck in on us, didn't, say anything when, give you a shout out,
the only person that said hi to me was Lucio in the chat. He said, hey, Felicia. But peace to you guys. I love just sitting back, listening to you. And listen, I know that this is urgent and the time is now, because y'all have Baba Mfundishi cussing on behalf of I've known you as, oh my God, I was like, did you just curse? I couldn't. I was like, what? I might have to actually go back in this video and bleep that, because I don't. It's like, it's the equivalent of me seeing you sitting on the corner eating like a McDonald's hamburger. I don't know. Like, I was like, what? This is urgent. This is urgent.
Yes. But no, listen, all the things we laid out here tonight are very urgent. Yes. But we must have, so when we look at the some of this stuff, and before we get it, I want to kind of tie this into some of the things that for us is, I hate that term, I guess Afrocentrists or whatever classification we're going to use, or we use for ourselves. But this is definitely out to people who understand and want to study ancient Kemet. There's so much we have in our repertoire in terms of a response. Sometimes I'll be like, you know what? I'm not even going to get into a response to them because this is an idiotic conversation. And I don't like having idiotic conversations because it just put more fire on it. It just helps build stupidity. So I'm like, you know what? We're just going to ignore it. But certain things, I'm like at this point where we need to address some of this, right? So in our repertoire of things we can do offensively to kind of combat this, one of the things that comes up is the incense burner, the coastal incense burner. And speaking to African primacy, I know when we take our trips to the Nile or to the HAPI Ethereal or the Kemet, Egypt, I like telling my people all the time, we are going to Egypt to visit Kemet. But one of the things we kind of hand out is this, and we do this first at Saqqara, and we talk about the early aspects of Nile Valley culture and how it ties into the African primacy of the Nile. And right here is the incense burner, and this is actually on display in now it's called the Isaac Museum in Chicago, the Institute for the Study of Ancient Civilizations, I believe that's what it is. They changed the name for the Royal Institute. Ancient Cultures. Thank you. Thank you. So, this right here, if we can, I'd like the panel, the experts on the panel, to kind of get into this and tie this into the African primacy of the Nile. Bob and Mfundishi, you want to have the first crack at it?
Well, the first thing is that Kwastil was a cemetery of the ancient Kushite kings before Narmer came into existence. So I want to say this is older than Saqqara.
So wait, just real quick. We got to get some context. Narmer was the first king of Egypt, correct?
Okay, Narmer is the first king of the United Two Lands. So this incense burner is 300 to 500 years before he came into existence. And he comes from the south. So he would have been what we call a Kushite. So I need people to understand that. And nobody's debating whether the Kushites were black or not.
Yep.
Okay, so let me say that again. Nobody's debating whether the Kushites from Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, all the way, nobody's debating whether they were black or not. Everybody's in agreement. So Narmer comes from there, and he's black. This incense burner is about 300 to 500 years before Narmer. So therefore, this is taking place in the Sudan, which would be ancient Kash. Some people say Nubia, but that's a more modern terminology. Coming from the word Nub means gold, people of the gold, but they didn't call themselves that. Okay. So now this Kwastil incense burner shows that all of the paraphernalia that was used in pharaonic Kemet was already in existence over 300 years before Kemet came into existence. From the south, not from Mesopotamia, not from Asia, from the south. So that the first thing you see there is the black lion. The black lion was called Pinmak in ancient Kash, and it's a symbol of resilience where Haru Imaketi comes from, which is there to protect you from sun up to sundown. So, people believe we can talk about it, people can debate about it, but it's believed that Haru Imaketi is there even before Kemet came into existence. That they have water erosion, and it talks about Haru Imaketi was probably there before the last great flood. Okay, so a lot of this imagery goes back pre-flood. Okay, so it shows the king. Is it going to show? Is there other images?
Yeah, we're gonna bring up some other images in a second.
It shows the king wearing a white crown, showing you that the white crown of the south was already being used. It shows him with a pharaonic beard, showing wisdom. already showing that was in existence. It shows the facade of a temple, showing that Imhotep wasn't the first person to build in stone, that he just inherited this, and that his father was an architect, and he just continued. We always want to make somebody the father of something. Europeans are famous for that. Okay? No, he was just a great architect and engineer, one of the first multi-level geniuses, but he didn't create that. It shows ships here, boats and ships, showing that not only pre-Kemet could they navigate the HAPI, that they could navigate the oceans. It shows Spadet, the bright star, which represent Aset and Shashat, was already being worshipped in ancient Kash before Kemet came into existence. It shows Haru on top of the Sarek before ancient Kemet came into existence. And by the way, that image of Haru goes back 75,000 years to the Adams calendar or EC calendar in South Africa, with Haru just being depicted 75,000 years ago. So I'm just showing you that all of this comes from the interior, and all of this is on this Quastel incense burner, showing everything that we associate as ancient Kemet in existence in the Sudan, ancient Kash, hundreds of years before Kemet came into existence. And that when Yanarma united, Kemet started out almost full blown. Nobody starts out full blown unless they inherit it from some other system. In fact, if we look at the bowls and jars and vases that comes out of Haru,
Nakata period.
Necherikhet, we call the Zoser. It was buried there. They were never able to duplicate that from the middle and late kingdoms. That the older we go back, the more dynamic it is. So those vases and stuff comes from a period prior to Kemet's existence, or its very early stage, which means they came in with the skills. So I want people to know that almost the older we go, the more dynamic they come. In fact, I'm gonna get some opposition, but I don't care. I ain't here to please nobody. The pyramids that we know, Kha-Ephra, Khufu, those pyramids were not built by them. They were already there, and they just repaired them because they didn't have the skills to duplicate that again during that time period. So all the pyramids we see after the 4th dynasty, which were already done before the 4th dynasty, the 5th dynasty, all of those pyramids are collapsed or corroded or done with small bricks. Nobody duplicates that again. That's just like those bowls and jars that could not be duplicated. And inside, and I know Felicia has been with me, inside of the bent pyramid, the red pyramid, if you go inside, there's a big cavern there with monolithic stones that have been weathered inside of the pyramid. Felicia, do you remember that? Seeing those stones?
Yes.
It can't rain inside of the pyramid. That means this great pyramid was built on top of another structure that's monolithic that goes back tens of thousands of years. Because they're called Melee lines, these grids, sacred grids. So temples were built on these Melee lines, these sacred energy grids. So that's why they would rebuild pyramids or sacred temples on top of temples, because of the sacred space that it represents. So, everything that's on here, this incense shows you that ancient Kemet inherited that. Even from Mahez, this Orax here. Later, in Mentuhotep named the city the Mahez, where he buried all of his warriors. And Felicia, we've been there, where I took you to Mahez, which they call Beni Hassan today, which is ridiculous. Some little boy named Beni, who was the son of Hassan, his donkey fell in a hole, and they realized that, oh, something's there. and they named the whole place after him when it already had a name.
Exactly. 362 steps. Remember? 362 steps you did with the cane, and you beat everybody that was just walking. Yeah, I remember.
So I'm just trying to show you that everything that's in ancient Kemet came from ancient Kosh pre-Kemet. Yes. And nobody's debating whether those people are black. So why are we debating that the ancient Egyptians at the beginning were not black?
It's a stupid conversation. That's what it is.
So
but we want to give the family some ammunition. Go ahead, Mfundishi. I want to just get to Jabari for a second, but go ahead.
Jabari, you want to jump in and say anything?
Absolutely. No, you outlined it well. He's outlined it very, very well. All I have to do is now try to, put the final paragraph on the book that he just created.
I just wanted to, before you,
he described it well.
Say that, Jabari.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better image here, but here's one of the kings of rulers of so-called Nubia, and you can see here he's actually had the white crowns, called King Neja from the 18th century BC, and I believe he's one of our HAPI cast members. We talk about him slightly, actually, rather than Mfundishi talked about him in the film. But one of the things there, we just wanted to kind of show that this culture that we see here on this incense burner, and I like this image here because it's laid out kind of one-dimensionally so people can see everything that Brother Mfundishi was talking about. But yeah, I'm sorry, Jabari. Go ahead, brother.
What Baba Mfundishi is saying, he's giving you all the detail, right? So for those of you who are a little bit less familiar, it might be a little difficult for you to understand it. But remember, what you have to do is you have to now think of every one of these conversations as classes. Go back and listen to what he said, do a little research, go back and listen to what he said, do a little bit of research, because he outlined it for you. What Baba Mfundishi is saying is that this is that the civilization comes from the South. And this is not something that even Arab historians will dispute. The arguments that we're having are in public with people who think that we don't know. Whenever someone attacks me on social media with their white supremacist or Arab argument, I say, oh, I see you have an opinion. I don't get angry. I say, you have an opinion. Maybe we should, have a debate in public. Let's talk about this. You remember how we used to watch Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, and sometimes Roadrunner will move so quick that the smoke was left and the body was gone? That's how they flee. They flee. They're gone. Why? Because they think that they can debate this with popular arguments. That's what they're doing. But when you actually look at the actual historical evidence, they lost this argument when Diop was making this argument decades ago. Yeah. So that's why they have to actually have this argument with Kevin Hart. That's why, because Kevin Hart is not a historian. He's not equipped to describe this. And that's the reason why when they attack me, even with the foulest language, I don't return. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should just have a debate. And then because they know this is going to look bad, and they run. So that's the reality. And let's also say that every single time that Kemet struggled in the rest of the 3,000 years of history that we can posit, it is always reconstituted from the South.
Facts.
It is always reconstituted from the South. The title of the king, the Nesut, we always teach, and I've been guilty of this as well, that it's the king of the North and the South. Show me the North glyph in the suit.
It's a ruler from the South.
It's the ruler from the South. There is no glyph for the North there. So they recognize this extensively, and I'm going to use a term that we might not think of with Kemet, high-tech culture, because for its day it was high-tech, comes from the South. And whenever it needs to be reestablished, it comes from the South. Narmer comes from the South. Then we see it have a great fall. Then we see Mentuhotep come from the South. Then we see another great fall. Then we see that family of the 17th dynasty coming from Waset that city that we call Luxor today. I'm not going to go into why, but the city we call Luxor today comes from the South. And then finally, when we see another period of chaos and destruction, we see the Nubians, the Kushites come to restore Kemet. Where? From the South. And they don't come in as foreigners plundering and pillaging. They can you imagine if I gave you a call and I said, Taki, someone broke into your house. And you ran home and said, oh, I want to see who did this. And you got there, they were renovating your bathroom. They said, Taki, your bathroom needed renovate. How come you didn't renovate this early? You're like, wait a minute, are these burglars? Can you break it again next week? That's what the Kushites did in the 25th dynasty. They come in to renovate Kemet, not to pillage and pilfer. So every single time we see Kemetic society struggle, it is always reconstituted from the South. These are things that are beyond debate. We have the information. Yes. And that's the reason why they're going to fight us in popular arguments. By the way, one of the things you may not know about me is I'm also a comic book nerd. So I'm excited about seeing, this is something Taki don't even know. He's like, what? I'm excited to see the X-Men animated series come back for its second season. Where are they going? They're going to ancient Kemet. Guess how they're going to depict those people? You already know.
Yeah.
These are subtle attacks. More people are going to watch X-Men 97 season 2 than are in my class or in Mfundishi's class or in most of the classes of people that can articulate the history. We are fighting a popular war with scholarship, and most people have no access to scholarship. That's the challenge.
You know, Jabari, you said
Yes.
you talked about the reconstitution from the South. Mm-hmm. Even in that 17th dynasty, second intermediary period, there was a coalition between the Kemet and who they would refer to as later on as the Kushites. And we talk about that extensively here in HAPI with the people from Jet Fatawi and or what they call their balance, and them having that Pan-Africanism or that unity between different African groups to defeat the Hyksos invaders from the north or from Asia. So this thing of unity is something we've always been thinking of and always been doing, and they understood that in the Nile. And this is where the HAPI comes in and the aspect of unity in that. And this is something that we need to take that lesson and that impetus from our ancestors and move forward. And
we do it together.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
And you might want to mention that this was found and it wasn't shown to the public until after the person who found it died and his assistant brought it forward.
That's good information.
So it was so black. It was so black that he didn't even want to show it to the public.
And that brings us to something. Go ahead,
wait, I'm not going to even let you speak yet, Taki. You know why I'm going to take this over? Because Taki is a brilliant brother, but is also very humble. I'm going to tell you, I was searching for the assistant for ages. I saw him once. I said, Bruce, he ducked in another door and closed it. Here I am in HAPI at the premiere, and I see that Taki is doing an interview with the assistant. He recently retired. Now he's willing to speak. Nobody had an interview with him until Taki had the interview with him. He's doing primary work. He's not going to say it here. He knows what I'm saying is true because that brother is humble. But the reality is, Keith Steele is the person who died. He was the person in charge of the excavation, and his assistant, a postdoctoral guy, was then left to explain what happened, to describe their research, and he was equipped to do it. But the reality is, instead of getting a chair at the University of Chicago or being celebrated for this incredible find, he just became a librarian. And the reality is that this information has been submerged. So what does Taki do? He go there and have an interview with them. I said, Taki, how you get him on here? He just smiled.
because I don't even know. All I know is I reached out to the museum and I was like, listen, this is what we want to do. But you know what, Jabari? It's not even about that and what we put in HAPI. Our thing is we need to take people there, right?
Yes.
We need to go. We need to figure this out. We need to let others see it because this is a very obscure museum. An object like this should be in the Met. It should be in the Louvre. It should be in Cairo Museum, some of the bigger, larger museums. But it's in a very obscure museum that's on the campus of the University of Chicago.
Yeah.
And I came up with this thing, and we were thinking like long and hard about ways in which we can get the family inspired, because that's what it gives us, right? This image gives us inspiration. You know, when I see it, I understand it. We read it, we look at it, we understand who we are. It gives us our purpose, gives us our culture, our medicine, all these things that we talk about. It makes us want to do great things. So, family, we need to figure out a way to bring us all in together and have a conversation around this and see this. And right now,
I have a question. Are the Arabs saying they on here? No, they said we're trying to steal their culture. Are they claiming this is them?
They don't even know about this.
Nope.
No. They know about it. That's why they try to hide it.
Yeah.
Either they're hiding things or they're changing things. We just showed you in the temple where they're changing things. They're taking those off. They're repainting things. They're taking objects like this. They're hiding it. Everything they can do. As a matter of fact, this reminds me of the that Richard Pryor skit where he goes into that tomb saying like, yo, right. He's like reading the book. The black people created all this stuff. There's like, nah, we're gonna close that up. That's exactly what they've been doing.
With him inside.
With him inside.
Now,
right.
I want to make another statement. Y'all remember I talked about the Temple of Seti I, where he shows you all of the kings list from Norma all the way up to him. And then I said on the other wall, well, these are some of the people on the other wall. So I don't know if I'm the first one to say this, but I want y'all to hear it. These are the kings that's on the other wall.
Right.
The Europeans say on mythology.
And
if this is 300 years before Norma, that means there must have been at least 5 or 6 other kings after him.
Yeah.
Listen. The family, look, this is what's going to happen here because, you know, this is something that, again, is very near and dear to our hearts, and we want to share it with you. So this summer, we're going to Chicago, and we're going to go to the University of Chicago in the formerly Oriental Institute, the Isaac Museum, and we're going to take a tour there. But this tour is going to be centered around a 3-day conference in Chicago, right? And it's called HAPI in the Shy. It's one of the most fantastic things I can say I've ever been a part of up until this point. I'm super excited about it, and something we've been working on for a very, very long time. So you need to understand what this is. It starts off in Chicago that afternoon. And by the way, we're going to have tour groups there, and the tour groups are going to be led by these 2 esteemed panelists.
Yes.
Mfundishi Jhutyms and Jabari Osaze. Yes. And I applaud these brothers for keeping this under the wraps for a very, very long time, because we reached out to them and we spoke to them about it and asked would they be so kind to be a part of it and lead this tour group through that museum. You don't know how important this is, especially after we just kind of showed you these videos and what's going on around the world. We need to we need to go to see it for ourselves. And I was in Chicago recently, had the time to go back and see it again. And every time I see it, it just kind of brings back those magical moments for me. And someone who's been an advocate of African primacy in the Nile, this is a tool that we can use. We're talking all night about anecdotal stuff, but that's just the first piece of it. This is a 3-day experience. And I'm going to let Felicia go through the aspects of the conference and who the speakers are and what's going to be happening.
Yeah. So you know what, family? I'm just so excited. We've been so sound aside. We all been excited and so like bursting to just kind of just get this out into the world. So we will be in Chicago. And listen, family, whoever's, is on this chat that's always going back and forth with Lucio, come on to Chicago. You can meet him in person because he's in the Shy. But we start on July 24th. Okay, that's Friday. So we're going to get in and we're going to meet up at the museum, and we're going to go through, through the museum and look at this beautiful piece. And you'll be led by either Mfundishi Jhutyms or Jabari Osaze. Then after that, later on in the evening, we're going to go to the DeSable Museum of Education. Now, this is beautiful because we're going to have, and wait, before we get started, let me just say this, family. We have 16 of our brightest minds that will be part of this conference. That's 16 people. Now, on this, if you're looking right now at the flyer, you may not be able to see it. Depends on what you're looking at, looking at the meme on. But we have 16 of our brightest minds all meeting together. And just right there, that is the power of unity. Because these are 16 different speakers and scholars that have different points of views about different things. But one thing that we all agree on is that we love Black people and we want to get Black people to the next level. And so this is the power of unity. This is our third conference. Okay. And I just think back when I first got started with HAPI, and I remember asking, Todd Key, I was like, well, and I saw somebody in the chat put this up early on. Is that, you guys are just sitting and analyzing this, but what are you doing? This is what we do right here. This is the doing. Dr. Renoka Rashidi talked about actually doing things. And this is us doing things. This is going to be a fabulous, when I say fabulous conference, each one keeps getting better and better. And those who have rolled with us when we started off in Detroit with One Africa, and then in New York with Black Excellence, come on to Chicago. This is going to be great. So Friday evening, we're going to have our HAPI opening reception at the DeSable. You get to look through, look at the exhibits that they have, but also we will have Baina Bello and Dr. George Frazier there opening up the space for us. Dr. Frazier is going to talk about networking. And then the next day, which is Saturday, that's everybody's going to be there. We starting from sun up to sundown. 16 people. And now how we always have little happy surprises in there. We're going to have different people performing. We got some little things coming through. So I'm telling you, family, you want to be part of this. So all day on Saturday, we're going to be at the Malcolm X College. Just say that piece. When Taki was in Chicago and we were looking at different places and he was like, yeah, I'm looking at the Malcolm X. I was like, say less. Like, we just need to be there. It isn't where else? Like, what, really? Malcolm X right there. Malcolm X College. We're going to be there all day, and we're going to have a HAPI marketplace. So family, if you want to vend, you can also vend. You can go to hapifilm.com. We have every link you need right there to get tickets for stuff. So on Saturday, it's going to be the whole day. HAPI marketplace, all the speakers, panel discussions, entertainment. And then we're going to have a closing leadership luncheon the next day, which will be Sunday, in the hotel that we'll be staying at collectively. And this is the thing. We have, you can, if you're not from Chicago and you want to come through, we have a discounted rate. All of it, again, is on hapifilm.com. But we're going to have our luncheon there, and we'll have a keynote speaker who we're going to keep a little surprise. Yeah, we got to have some little surprises for y'all. So this whole thing, so this is what you can do. You can do all 3 days with us. Okay, if you got the time, all 3 days. That's 4 events over 3 days. Okay. Or you can just come and hang out with us on Saturday. Now, we understand that you may be, I don't know, in Cameroon, Jamaica, and you just can't, get to Chicago in July. We got live stream. Okay. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, okay, because this is what happened in Detroit. Everyone, we were telling people, come on, do it. And then at the last minute, everyone did it. And then we were sold out. Okay. And people couldn't get in. So I'm telling you right now, if you even think you want to do it, get on to the hapifilm.com, or you can go to Eventbrite and just put in HAPI in the Shy, and everything comes up. Get your tickets now. All of us that are on the screen right now will be there, and I'm gonna go through the names real quick. So we have Dr. Ken Harris. So he's actually been the host for our last 2 events. You know, we love some Dr. Kenneth Harris. So he's going to host this event. So gracious. We have him. We have Robin Walker. Robin Walker is coming over. Robin Walker is coming. Like I'm telling family, Robin Walker is coming. Okay. We got Baina Bello, Dr. George Frazier, Jabari and Mfundishi Jhutyms, who are here right now. They're going to be there. We also have Dr. Susan Tata. We have Dr. Julianne Melvo, Dr. Boyce Watkins, Crystal Gunn. She was just on like a couple of weeks. She's going to be in the house. And the beautiful thing is, like, when we call people, we ask them, like, some people, you know, they were trying to give a shade or whatever. And some people were like, before we could even get it out, just like when we asked, I called Mfundishi. I was like, Mfundishi, do you think you can come to Chicago? And the kids like, yes. I mean, I couldn't even finish my whole thing before Mfundishi was like, I'm there, I'm driving, I'm going to bring all 125th Street with me. So I really appreciate that right there is the power of unity. But also, we have Dr. Obari Cartman. We have Dr. Joseph Ben Levy. He's old school for you guys who have been around for a minute. He's going to be there. And then on Zoom, we're going to have 2 people that are going to, for different reasons, couldn't get in. We're going to have Dr. Malana Karenga, and we're going to have Joshua Mapanga. And that is and I'm sorry, how do I forget the Queen? Queen of Four is going to be there too. So that's everybody, family.
Yes.
16 people. I'm telling you, get your tickets now. Don't look.
But Felicia, we got to tell them why they need to get their tickets.
Let me tell you why you gotta get your tickets. Because, we can sit here, just like the woman said earlier in the chat, we can just keep talking about some stuff, or we can do some stuff. And I'm going to tell you, this is what Jabari said. I actually, when he said this, I was like, yes. He said, access to scholarship. This is access to scholarship. This is access to scholarship. This is how you do it. So you can't sit and complain about it, but you're going to come here. Our last conference, I remember we had Dr. Georgina Falou helping people start businesses. She wasn't just talking about it. She had paperwork. She had people sign up. You mailed it in. Like, we're about business. HAPI is about this business for real. And there's power in unity. And I agree with Hassan. We don't need everybody. We just need the people who are on this screen. But I will say, if you are looking at this show right now, I am begging you to bring at least one person with you who ain't about that life, because this is how we share the knowledge. Okay, everyone knows somebody. If you're gonna do a live stream, bring some people to your house and let them see this. Let them be a part of this. Yes.
I'm sorry. This is also how we heal. This is healing through unity. And one of the things is, again, there's good and bad in the internet, and we see it. There's a way for us to communicate and kind of stay connected. But as African people, we need to be. There's something about us being in the same space. There's something communal about that. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to more events of this nature. The internet, it's kind of like destroyed a lot of this. It's kind of kept us connected, but also disconnected.
Yes.
We need to reconnect again and kind of be a part of these spaces. But one of the things I want to add about the urgency of it, for the 3-day event, if you are going to come for all 3 days, the Saturday event is the biggest venue, but the other 2 venues are small. So there is a cap on that. So if you're going to do all 3, get your tickets now, because it's almost half the size of the other one. So we won't be able to, when the 3 days sells out, that's it. You're going to only have the option for the 1 day. So if you're considering coming all 3 days, please, family, get your tickets now.
Yeah. And the other piece is this access to scholarship. The beautiful thing about this, everybody on this panel, they're just walking around. And I just remember, we had just evenings of just lounging with Dr. J and Baina Bello. They just talking like everyone was just, and Jabari, like it was just literally a place where we could just hang and be in contact with people. Like touch goes a long way, and really just vibing with each other, which is what we need. This is the healing piece. You know,
Hey,
it feels
Felicia.
good. Like I tell you.
Hey, Felicia. So look,
feeling.
let me give the perspective from someone that was there as an attendee, right? So prior to me becoming a HAPI member, I've been at every conference, right? And
Yes.
I'll say this: every conference, coming back home, there was a shift in my life, which then in turn there was a shift for the better in my family. So, and within that shift, you know, there was an energy shift, but there was also an enlightenment shift and an actionable shift, because I started being more actionable. And that goes back to the person that said, you know, what are y'all doing? And I say that all the time. Like, if because we like to come to these conferences for entertainment purposes sometimes, right? And because we see a lot of big names and a lot of people that we've seen on the internet, we just want to come as far as like entertainment, which that's cool, because being around their energy is a good look. But at the same time, you have to be actionable with at least one thing when you're hearing these different, when we're going through these different topics, through these different lectures, through these different panel discussions. Take something back home with you and be actionable. And Felicia, you also mentioned about bringing a person with you. I'll say bring a teenager with you, because we need more of the youth at these events. And that way, you know, you could facilitate to them. If they don't understand something, you can facilitate to them to where they have some clarity, some understanding. I wouldn't expect them to understand everything, but just for them to be around this energy, just for them to be around this information, we have to bring the youth around. It's a must.
Yes. And you know what, family? Let me add also Nuri Muhammad. I don't know how I forgot Nuri Muhammad. Well, I do know. I broke my glasses, so I can't see. But Nuri Muhammad's going to be there too. And you know, I'm good for bringing some kids. So family, bring some kids. Yeah, that's true. And you know, let me also add that Hassan, he's right. He's come to all of our conferences. He's always been the first person to actually register. to any event that we have. I was like, damn, who is this Hassan Williams? And you know, Taki's like, oh, I know that brother, the brother from Brooklyn. I was like, man, like he be on it. So listen, family, this is really super important. You know, we always, it's easy for us to talk about some stuff, but show up, get the scholarship and pass it on. That's what it's about.
And this is going to be another one of those times that people say, I was there.
Absolutely.
Right? There are those conferences that people talk about and you wish you were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Don't have African family FOMO. Don't do that. Right? just make sure, just be in the house, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, you opened the door for something I want to talk about. Family, there are ways that you can memorialize yourself and connect yourself with this conference. And ways you can support it. One of the big things is, like Felicia said earlier, about the vending space. There's a finite amount of vendors. So you already see what this looks like. Malcolm X Community College is going to be jam-packed. See the people with the lineup we have. So if you're interested in being a vendor, I recommend strongly you go to happyfilm.com and you register tonight.
Don't try to roll up on us. You see, y'all love to try to roll up on myself or Taki. Come on, let me just get in. Let me get in. And we're like, we can't. We literally only have a certain amount of space. So family, just do it right now.
Yes, and not only that too. For those people who are interested in being a sponsor and a sponsorship program, we're going to have another commemorative book to be a part of. And you can put your ad space in there. All the information is on happyfilm.com. Definitely go there and you can register and just submit your artwork. We got business card space, quarter page, half page, full page, front inside cover, back inside cover. All these different options, and you will be memorialized as a part of this for eternity. This is to be a part, just to be something that you brought together. And this is the biggest thing, is that HAPI doesn't, well, HAPI in the sense of the community does this, but in the sense of Felicia, Hassan, and I, we don't do this alone. Everything that we do here is with the support of the community. And the only way for this to continue is we need your support and need you to be a part of this in the bigger scheme. And that's the only way this works, if we work this collectively. We've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. You see the people we have here, you see the artwork put together. There's a lot. We should work diligently on the Eventbrite stuff, the website stuff, all this different work that goes on behind the scenes. Taking trips to Chicago. I was there. She went there. We're going back again several times before this even happens. Yeah. Shout out to the Chicago family. Shout out to my brother Lucio. Kind of helped me out with some of this stuff. But this is it, family. Chicago was either, for me, it was either Chicago. Yes, Kahinde. It was either Chicago or Boston. We wanted to do something maybe around the Museum of Fine Arts or the Incense Burner. Chicago just has so much flavor in terms of the Black struggle and the Black freedom fighters, things like that. So this is the place. This is the heart. And it reminds me a lot of New York City. So it was like, couldn't pick a better venue itself than the city of Chicago. So we're excited about it. And we're looking forward to it. Like I said, come, you could be a part of it. You could be an attendee. You could be a part of the book. You could be a vendor. All these different things are happening, and we're super excited about it.
And we should remember, Chicago was a city that was founded by an African, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's why we're going to Du Sabel Museum.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
John Baptiste Point Du Sabel.
You can't give it to him right now. That's the part of it.
Because you know what? I was thinking you guys were saying too much about the incense burner. I was like, you guys got to see it.
But listen, it's nothing like seeing it. Nothing like seeing it.
That's right.
It's nothing like seeing it.
My personal testament, nothing like seeing it.
Yeah.
I've been talking about it for years and happy to say that, I finally got the opportunity to see it up close and in person. So we want to share that experience with you.
And also, family, I wanted to also add, when you get your ticket to come, you get the commemorative book. You get that for, that comes with your ticket. You get a badge, and you will have a bag. So,
it's always happy giveaways.
Yeah, it's always happy giving. We always have a little something up in our back pocket. Or got a little something. So
well, I'm sorry.
No, just happyfilm.com. Family, you just need to try to figure out how to make it happen. Just make it happen. Even a live stream, we give a lot of love to our live stream audience as well. It's going to be nice.
Yes.
So, and a live
look at it. It looks nice. It looks beautiful. Everything about it looks nice.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. So,
and as I go there, you should know there's a very active shrine member there. We're talking about Senatan, who was I just looked up and noticed his name he's in the building. Listen,
shout out to the brother.
Powerful brother. Whatever I do, I'm introduce this community to him because he's a powerful student of history. So I'm excited that we're going to Chicago, where he lives with his beautiful family as well.
Well, listen, Hassan and I, we rolling next month there to do some more little happy work. I'm just saying, family, come through. Listen, happyfilm.com. Get your tickets. It's always
get your tickets.
Good time.
Register to be a vendor.
Yep.
Register for the ad space in the book. Oh, and by the way, if you take out an ad in the commemorative book, we'll also place that ad in the HAPI newsletter as well.
Yeah. And
that newsletter will not only be online, but will also be printed and distributed throughout the Midwest. So we're going to print thousands of copies of that, and we're going to just hand them out to people in the Midwest for free. So you're getting 3 for the price of 1. You're getting the commemorative book, you get the HAPI newsletter electronically, and also it'll be in people's hands actually walking around the streets.
Yeah,
so it's something to get your product or your vision in front of a much larger group of people.
Yeah, and you know what, family? I tell you, the vendors that were in Detroit and in Black Excellence, if y'all just came back, I would be happy because there was some really good. Oh my God, you had some really good products up in there.
Yeah.
So family, Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jabari.
Oh no, I was agreeing. I was just nodding and agreeing.
Well, listen.
Yes. So listen, family, if you can't remember happyfilm.com, if you just go to Eventbrite and put in happy in the shy, all of our events come up.
Yes. Happy in the Shy Power and Unity Conference. That is
Yes,
the title.
even the name is dope.
And the theme is unity. Is healing through unity. So, family, listen. I know it's getting late, and we want to thank you for being a part of this discussion. Before we go, Max the Elder, Bob Mfundishi, if he has any closing words for us, and we're going to come back next week with next Sunday with Bayana Bello and Dr. George Frazier. So tune in for that, because we are on full Happy in the Shy Power and Unity Conference mode right now, and this is what we'll be talking about.
Yes,
all right.
And also tell them, like, every week, because we have 9 weeks left, family. Every week we're bringing somebody from this list of our 16. They coming on the show. So every Sunday you're gonna get a little taste of Happy in the Shy. So make sure you're tuned in. And you know what, Mfundishi, we're going to get you a light. You look like you're on the witness protection program back there. Like, you all of them in the dark, like you giving Kemet secrets over here. Like, I'm gonna get you a light. I'm in
Nura, the suit nature. Achinura. They knew Uja Senebne. May the ancestors be with us. May they guide us. May they give us inspiration. My art be part of our life. May our reward for doing my art is to receive my art. Dua.
Dua.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bob Mfundishi, for the prayer. Closing out for us. Family, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We will see you soon. See you next Sunday, in fact. Don't forget, happyfilm.com. Peace.
Peace, family. Stay happy.
Stay happy.
Economics and politics are the foundation of human development.
While forming the world's earliest civilizations, Africans also laid the groundwork for the creation of economic systems.
By learning from our history, we gain the strength to empower the present and design the future. Presenting the premier forum for truth, culture, and change. HAPI Talks. Join us as we unlock the secrets to our success.